have the cab set just about where it needs to be. I did have the front clip on. And this tire, center of the wheel well. This radiator support sits right in here in this notch that I cut out. And then I measured from the frame to a good spot in the cab, each side, to make sure they were same front and back. To double check my cab placement on the frame side to side, I measured from the frame over to this hard corner here on the where the floor and rocker are. And I just made sure this matched the other side. And I did the same thing on the back. Went from the frame over to the hard corner and made sure they were the same. I am now working on getting the bed set. I need to go roughly an inch, inch and a half towards the cab. But I am hitting this rear cross member. And I have just about an inch before I hit my frame rails. So I'm going to cut along this line here and push this bed forward until this brace hits the frame rails. I will then check my gap at the cab again to see if it's where I need it. I also have to cut off these exhaust hanger because it's hitting my bed and keeping me from centering the bed on the frame. Right now it's this way just a little bit. So I'll have to cut that off and get it slid over, get this cut, push the bed forward and see how it looks. Depending on how well things work out with the bed and the cab and all that, I might wind up cutting this entire piece out and putting my gas tank back here. I have the one that fits between the frame rails. I just don't know if I can get my filler neck out in a good location that doesn't look really dumb. I was going to take my air chisel and try to separate this here and here to get this piece out, but I decided to just cut this here and push it forward. And just like that, it's cut. Cut the exhaust too. I'll get this pushed forward, centered up, and see what it looks like. The bed is now centered up. And it's touching down there. Touching down there. I have roughly 1 3/4, 1 5/8 gap. And it's very close. The headboard's kind of wavy, a little bent. So it's not super accurate, but it's close. And when I back up and look at the tire, it's pretty centered in the wheel well opening. If that's a little better shot, maybe. To get the final bed placement, I will have to put in my running board with the front fender on. However, you can see those 3 holes there. And there's one on the side. There's nothing on this fender to bolt to. Somebody cut it. There is a hole. Right here. For that other hole on the step. But there's nothing here. I made a template for my frame mounts for the cab, but to do it I had to take the front clip back off, get my engine hoist in here, bolt this chain in, pick up the front of the cab so I could actually get my template in here I also cut off the original Explorer body mount off the frame. That allowed me to be able to set my template here to make sure it would work. I also made a template for the back mount. The original mount has a bracket here. There's like an arm that comes down to the original frame. I'm not doing that. I'm going to reinforce this floor in this area and have a mount come off the frame and put a body bushing in there. And I will cut off the original Explorer mount. None of this is final. This is all just rough measurements and fitment just to see how it looks, see if it looks right, if it's in the right spot. Everything looks pretty good so far. The height of the bed isn't quite right, but I'll get it there once I get the frame mounts for the cab and get some bushings under the cab. I'll get the bed finalized. I'll probably have to wind up adding some bracing lengthways and across here to get above the this cross member with a shock that the shock's bolt into. Depending how everything works, I might wind up removing that cross member and making my own so that the bed doesn't have to be quite so high, the bed floor. So we'll see as things go how it will look.